hope you're all doing well. These energies are quite intense. Yes, they are. It's that time again where the new cycle begins and we're letting go of the old one. I released a video on the Grand Water Trine, big planets that are moving into new signs, and it's the end of a season and the beginning of a new season. And it's spring energy in the middle of winter here in the northern hemisphere. So it feels like we're moving into this really spring type energy, but it's really winter. And I think it's confusing for a lot of people. And because of all this retrograde energy, people are having to go over like 9-year cycles, 18-year cycles, and just process everything that wasn't processed. A lot of emotion with the water trine, and that could be, releasing, like that cleansing, like tears, but it can also be like a lot of just fire energy, if it's bringing up anger, so it like becomes a fire water. And I felt it was very feminine. Now it's kind of like turning into a more masculine as we reach those final degrees, those final stages of those final degrees. It's really bringing in more of a fire energy, which I think is wonderful because that's what's needed, especially with Neptune and Saturn going into Aries. It's going to be a lot of fire energy, but it's going to be tempered in a different way because we're starting a new cycle. All the lessons learned from previous cycles have culminated. We're assimilating them and we're going into this next phase. Basically, it's a new paradigm on like so many levels. Every level of society is now reaching this, we've reached this culmination point and things are actually changing, bubbling up to the surface. And it's really exciting. I'm really excited for everybody because, as difficult as the transformational energy can be, um, it is like this, blossoming spring energy. Like that's the kind of excitement that's coming with it. Um, and we just need to stay grounded, stay focused, and keep on doing the work, right? And we can't get distracted too much by all of this stuff going on. And if we're making the right decisions when we're confronted with these final tests, we are going to be able to, it's going to be a smoother ride, right? If we're not making the right decisions, then yeah, we can feel like tower moments and, things backfiring, which is always just going to bring us closer to where we need to go on our evolution. So nothing is bad. Always in hindsight, it's much better to understand, but that's kind of what's coming through. And I just wanted to share, I don't usually share my shamanic journey, but I did a shamanic journey recently, and I pulled a rune. I don't usually pull runes or tarot cards. Very rarely. Like I keep that kind of really sacred. And I pulled a rune and it was Eihwaz. And I only pulled one rune at the beginning of the session, like right before I started, to see what kind of container was there. And it's a really beautiful energy, right? It's the 13th rune of the Elder Futhark alphabet. It represents the yew tree and symbolizing themes of transformation, death, and rebirth and endurance. It's also associated with the world tree of Yggdrasil and the Norse god Owen, and its meaning is related to protection, spiritual development, and a cyclical journey through life and death. So that's kind of really on point, right, with what we are experiencing right now. So that was a beautiful energy that opened the space. And if you look up the Bruin, it kind of reminded me, of like if you take the ruin and then you start spinning it, this kind of this container that we're creating right now. And we did the work with like the roots and going down a lot of like ancestral healing work, a lot of just like healing society and like growing, better roots into our true history, into who we are as humans, like really who we are, like our human technology. I mean, everything is just popping off. Everything's popping off in terms of like what's coming to the surface. People that are talking about, this human technology are coming from every single area of society. Like it doesn't matter if they're a neurosurgeon or teacher in a traditional, setting. Um, all of the like trades people, like it's coming in from everywhere. So people, there has been an awakening, right? That's happening, and it's coming it's coming forward, and it can't be stopped. And it's this new space and this new energy that we're in, and I'm really excited about it. And so I did the shamanic journey, and the messages that came in are personal, but I also have a strong connection to the collective. So I process a lot of things and transmute a lot of things in relation to the collective. And so that's why my energy is kind of, all over the place. But it's part of the work that I do here on a more spiritual level. And so, this journey started off like as soon as I entered, I saw the cobra and I just like went right through the cobra, entered its mouth, out the tail. Like it didn't even, there was no blockage there. It was like poof, so fluid moving through it. And then I got to this space as I was running. It was like the vegetation was just growing and growing and growing until it was this really lush jungle. And in the center of the jungle, I find myself laying down in a fetus position. And in the fetus position, there's this figure that's standing. It's like it's a circle. I could feel my ancestors around me, and I could feel supportive energy. And at the head of the circle was this like hooded figure. And it was like a black hood. And so, of course, I demand to know, who you are as I lay there in fetus position. And he just shows me his face, and it's a skeleton. So symbolically, there's like, okay, this is a serious death and transformation that's happening for me and for the collective. So I'm lying there, and then all of the animals from the jungle start coming and eating parts of me, right? And I had this experience before back in 2017. So in 2017, um, in some cultures, this is actually recognized. Like when people have this specific vision, it's a spiritual initiation that they're going through. So I've had it before. So I kind of knew what it was, but I'm just like watching, what animals were coming forward and picking away all the remains until there was only bone left on my body or on my skin. It was just my skeleton. And then the polar bear came in, and I always have the polar bear with me in my shamanic journeys. Um, Sorry about that. I always have the polar bear with me in the shamanic journeys that I do. It's a really strong figure that I work with, and animal spirit that I work with, and it guides me, and it really helps me to put things in context. And so it started licking my bones, and it just licked all of my bones clean. And there was like this real, I felt healing on a deep, like DNA level, and to do with the immune system, the spiritual immune system, the DNA. And wow, that was just, it was powerful enough as it was. And then I got shown this huge, 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 huge open space, the size of many, many football fields, and there was only one path with this really lush, um, I guess it was like, wheatgrass or wheat, and it was just this one narrow path that was before me. It was so much space. And so, I command and I demand why is there only one path here? And I was told that, basically you are the path. So, the concept of you are the path is basically we are the creators. We are creating our paths. All of the inner work that we do is the path, right? So whatever comes up, doesn't matter what's happening on the outside, circumstances, what we're working on, goals, family life, everything. It's what is happening within and what we can, how we're interacting with our thoughts, feelings, emotions, our body, you know, our being here and that inner process. And as we work with that inner process, that is the path. That is how we create the path. So that was a really beautiful vision that I had and kind of like insight that was shown to me and that was given to me. And then as my energy moved up, um, I became like this spark of light. Um, But just before that, I was brought down into the caverns where this hooded figure governed this space. I'm assuming it's kind of like the underworld and, where people go through this death and rebirth process. And as I looked around, there were flowers everywhere, and each flower had a spark of light. And it was really beautiful. And all of these sparks of light were like seeds that were incubating as we move into this transitional period. And that was powerful. And my seed, like rose up and it got to kind of like this middle earth space. And then all of a sudden, the scenery around me, which was this beautiful, beautiful natural scenery, just turned into light. So everything was a spark of light, and I was a spark of light, and everything was a spark of light. And then it was like I was in the sound light field, like frequencies. So everything turned into frequency, everything was sound. It was a beautiful orchestra playing all these little sparks of light. That the universe is made up of were emanating sound and light. And so I was in this space and it was like, the Eihwaz symbol just spinning and spinning and spinning, kind of like the Sufis. And it was spinning and spinning and it was like creating this vortex. And I just became one with everything and sort of like died onto myself in that space, like, and then reemerged as this spark, moving up as everything sort of restabilized and I was able to see visually that I was again in nature. And it rose up and then I was an eagle and I had this spark of light in my mouth. And there were a bunch of other eagles with me. And eagles are usually pretty solo, but we were all flying together and we all had these sparks of light in our mouths, in our beaks. And we were dropping them onto the earth. And as we dropped them, it was like dropping these seeds of potential, these seeds of like awakening, these seeds of insight, of consciousness, of awareness, like a beauty, of love, of authenticity, creativity. Like I was just really full with this magnificent energy. And we did that for a while. And that was powerful in itself. Um, I didn't get too many flashes on where that of that growing, but I felt like somewhere in the back I was able to see these seeds being planted, and there was like kind of they were starting to sprout. Um, and then let me just look at my notes. It's the wrong page. Um, oh yeah, this is this is where it gets really interesting. Um, I'm not sure how much, I mean, everything reflects into the collective, but it would probably, this message is for a specific collective within the collective. And so as we're dropping these seeds, we're rising as we do this. So we're getting further and further away from the earth until we hit like, we're in outer space. And at that point, I look up and I see like all of this Egyptian writing in the stars. And all of a sudden, I'm transported to a chamber within a pyramid. And sitting before me is a being. And I could feel that it's like a beautiful energy, a beautiful exchange. But again, I demand to know who this being is. And I do that in dreams. I do that whenever I'm, working in these other dimensions. I always demand to know what energy I'm working with so I can, there's clear discernment on where I want to go and if I want to extract my energy or whatever. So they show themselves and they're a feline being and strongly connected to Egypt. And they're offering me a gift of healing. And so balancing all of these energy centers within myself. And then a really powerful moment came where they did like a healing with the second and the fifth chakra. And there was a releasing of something that was put around the neck, which for anybody who knows me, this has been like a theme that goes back for since the beginning of my life. Um, and there's been many layers of healing that's taken place around the neck. And so I get to this point and then he like removes something from my neck and I'm just so excited that this is happening. And I feel like this is connected to something, a movement that has happened within a group, specific group within the collective. And if you're one of them, then you might have had a similar experience or something related to this recently. That's just activating, you know, clearing the energy around the throat chakra. Um, and so, of course, all these powerful things happen in my life to reconfirm that this energy is taking place and that there are changes happening on all these different levels. So this is like a confirmation. Um, I started talking about it, and that's how powerful, the placebo effect is, and our creator energy. We start talking about something, we start like manifesting it instantly. So being careful about what we're speaking about is really important too. And I've noted just because we are in that period where things are sprouting and the energy is really potent. Um, and so I just, to end that shamanic journey that was taking place, like it was just such a beautiful energy. And I really didn't want to leave that space with that being. It was an ancestor. I reconnected with that ancestral lineage. And I was shown, that they have been working with me, that line has been working with me. And there has been progress. And I am now at a phase where there's going to be, new um, new energies coming in that I'm going to have to work with. And this is what the collective is going through as the paradigm shift. We're all going to be confronted with newer aspects of self. And with that, different kind of choices that we're going to make, based on our experience and what's culminated. what we've cultivated. Um, and so I'm really looking forward to this next phase. And we just have to keep on moving with this, really grounded, authentic approach to what we're feeling. Because I just feel like right now it is impossible to hide anything. Like the truth is at the forefront. So lying to ourselves or lying to other people, it's just not going to work. Um, Everything is transparent anyway. If you've been on this journey for a long while, you know that. And so now it's like things are catching up. And I think this is a beautiful space to be in because it's in that radical, authentic connection with ourselves, with what's true to us, what's true out in the world is the foundation of what is creating this new energetic rollout, this new cycle, this new 9-year cycle, 18-year cycle, which is huge. Um, yeah, so I guess, that's pretty much it. And I think this is just, I'm sharing it because I think it's a representation of what the collective is going through. And we're going through a death and rebirth, major, major, and we have springtime energy in the winter. And, everything's kind of layered up. And it's going to be this beautiful blossoming. So I just invite everybody to continue, working with this energy, like within themselves and validating what's coming up by being present with it and knowing that no one is alone. Like this is a movement happening with everybody, and we need to stay in support of each other as we go through these challenges by honoring our own limits, by honoring our own, boundaries. Because when we honor our boundaries, we can actually let more in of the right thing, right? And it's all about alignment where people are lining up. Um, and I really like, these messages that are coming in where, you know, judgment is only good vis-a-vis, what's happening and what you're interacting with. Outside of that, it's a live and let live, um, outside of your realm of reach and what you're creating. Like just create what you want to see in the world. And of course, everyone's space is protected. Like, you have to trust that, and you have to trust that your ancestors are protecting you, and all these benevolent energies that are flooding in right now are working with us to create what it is we want to see in the world, and more beauty and, more harmony from a place of not spiritually bypassing anything or being an illusion. Like all the illusions are just gonna slowly, they have been fading away. Like everyone can agree over the last few years. It's really hard for anything that isn't, true to stand, right? All the truth is coming to the surface about everything. There's great big healing. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. And I just wanted to come on and share this little tidbit with small little community that visit me. I really appreciate having you in my life and supporting me. And yeah, doing readings for people. Check out inspiringplayfulevolutions.com. I have a new service, which is Soul Story, which I really am excited to have more people come and take advantage of that service. But this really isn't about selling anything. This is about sharing. And that's usually where I come from. It's about this creative expression, putting myself out there, getting that practice. Because otherwise I'm pretty much someone who's moving inwards and doing a lot of like internal work. But it's nice to come out, and I feel like I'm in that spring energy where I'll probably be back a little bit more than I have been in the last 8 months. So take care, and I guess I'll talk to you soon. Bye.